Well, hello, 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 and welcome to another elevation moment with Elevated Not Tolerated. I am super excited about all of you that are joining on today. We're going to have a very, very, very good conversation. We're going to be talking about life audits. I told you that's what we're going to talk about today. Trying to give you some feedback and some points for moving forward in this time around this season, because it can be sometimes a little bit how do I say it? It can be a bit challenging for some people. And so I wanted to be able to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to experience some things as far as getting ready for the next I apologize for getting ready for the new year. And sometimes it means that we have to go back and review some things, some avenues that we have already experienced, and we can kind of see where we need to move forward, for where we need to go to next, right? And so, I'm excited. I had some meetings this morning with some individuals about some things that I'm getting ready to transition into in 2024. Because see, some things we don't realize, but sometimes we're doing things that can help hold us back from moving to our next. And sometimes, we've talked about this self-sabotage, and that's a part of a process that's coming forth in 2024 too. But there's sometimes that we as individuals, we can cause ourselves to self-sabotage. And so, and sometimes even with when we talk about, walking on eggshells, all of those are components of self-sabotaging. And so we're going to talk more about that in 2024 as we position ourselves for different new avenues that's coming forth. I want you to go out there and care, share, and like the platform for today. We did a little changing up today. We're behind the scenes working on some new things for presentations and that type of thing, because that's what we believe in. We believe in improving as we go through the journey. And so that's something else that we want to talk about. At the year end, there's some things that we as individuals need to prepare ourselves for and get ready to do. And so that's the reason why we wanted to talk about specifics on today. And I want to just kind of tap on some other things that's going on in the atmosphere, some things that you may not be aware of. We do have the elevation workshop coming up January the 20th here in High Point, North Carolina. If you have not registered, we need you to go ahead and register today. We'll give you some more information about that throughout the week, but it is going to be a fun time. It is an amazing. We're going to be doing a vision board, and we're going to be doing a little painting, but we're also incorporating this in order for us to understand the importance of manifestation. Manifestation is a part of biblical principles, as well as, and I know some people sometimes don't think that it is, but it is. Manifestation is a part of the Bible. It is. There are scriptures to back it up. And so we're going to be talking how that process works and what it looks like, because again, it begins with us speaking and talking in a certain way and making sure that we have the resources available to us while we can be able to experience it on different levels as well. And sometimes we neglect it because we don't want to get outside of traditional places and teachings, if you will. I'm one of those people that I believe that, if I have a question, if this is borderline with my spiritual walk, on my spiritual growth, I have spiritual leaders in place that I know that I can go to and I can ask questions to. There's a lot of, I'm this type of person. I believe that if you show me, I'm a show person, and that doesn't mean I'm being ugly when I say that, but I am a show person because I'm a hands-on person. I have to actually touch stuff, right? So in my growth patterns, and I'm kind of talking and wait for people to log in, if you will, but in my process, I have to be able to experience asking you a question and you showing me the evidence of, right? If I ask you, it's 2 + 2 = 4. I'm gonna need to see that in action. Show me 2 and then show me two more and show me that that equals out to four. Does that make sense? Because it's important for me that I have to have the evidence, right? I need to see evidence of what you're talking about. And even in, moving forward with certain things, I've actually reached out to people that I trust in leadership, spiritual leadership, that can give me truth and also provide the evidence, but also are willing to, because sometimes we need to have people in our place that are not yes people, right? You can have people. I was talking to someone about today about an organization that we're developing, and one of the things that we were talking about was this: that we don't need yes people. We just need people that are going to be true to the vision and the mission, right? And so for me, having people in my life that are truly showing the evidence of leadership is what I'm looking for, right? And so I feel like in my journey that if there's questions that I have the capability of asking these spiritual leaders that I do trust, that can get to direct me the right path, give me the scripture, let me find it, let me go ahead and read it, right? And then allow me during that process while I'm experiencing finding it out on my own, that I can also have the opportunity, if you will, is to be able to pray about it in a certain way, because sometimes we can be so into some things that we miss a concept, right? And even as I was praying this morning, and I kind of posted that earlier today, I was praying, and I was like, God, you got to give me something to go with, right? And sometimes I don't know how you hear God, and and all of that kind of stuff, but I know how I hear him, right? And so as I was praying, God reminded me of the scripture about shaking the dust, right? And shaking some things off, right? And so I shared that earlier on my Facebook page, because I believe in sharing good stuff as God produces it to us and it gives us direction to see it. And so when I was sharing that, I said, well, God, give me some understanding, give me some clarity with. Let me back that up with some clarity, right? And that's exactly what he did. He provided me with the scripture that goes along with it. And I'm going to share that again, because I think it's important that you and I tap into these avenues where we can actually understand and see some things. And I apologize, I'm trying to multitask on the computers. Y'all know I like to do a little multitasking. That's my thing. But as I was asking God for the clarification, is when he gave me the scripture. And I want to because this is a part of life auditing too, right? But the scripture in Matthew 10 and 14 says this: and whosoever shall not receive you nor hear your words when you depart out. In other words, when you say deuces and five quarters, when you depart out of that house or city, shake off the dust of your feet. Shake off the dust off your feet. And that's Matthew 14. Excuse me, 14. Matthew 10 and 14. Go back and read it in your spare time. Go back and ask your leaders to give you clarity if you need it. But for me, that was pretty cut and dry. Sometimes you got to shake off people, places, and things. And I've said this before. Sometimes we have to shake out people, places, and things in order for us to move to our next level, right? And so that scripture was what I needed, because I wanted to be able to start processing what God had already downloaded in me. Was that it was time, again, it was time to see who was supposed to be in place and who's not. And so I've said this before, the 3S does work. Ask my students. I have people that have come to me specifically to understand the 3S process. And that is something that, it really intrigues me, because the 3S process truly does work. Seeing every level form that actually is seeing self. And so when you talk about the 3S is silence, brings forth strategic plan for God and you to show up. Notice I said you, for God and you, because without him in the lead, there is some things that we're not going to be able to accomplish anyway. Can I be honest with you? If he has given you a design, a mission, or an assignment for you, it is important that you follow through with that. But it also requires us to be at that place of understanding and willing to hear excuse me, what God has purposed in our life. And a lot of times that's the problem. We don't want to deal with that process. We want to wait. We want to see how it really is going to come to fruition. We really want to see what it looks like on a different plate, on a different day, right? But if you can actually engulf the 3S policy into what you believe in, and check it out. Silence means that you're not hearing all of the shenanigans and the stuff in your head, right? When you get silence, you can clear out some things. Sometimes you just need that moment. That sometimes is something that you need to be able to experience and allow yourself to tap into, right? And so silence brings about an opportunity for everything in the atmosphere to be quiet. You have to command the silence. You have to speak to your atmosphere that everything in it has to remain silent in order for us to be able to engulf what we need to engulf with, right? We need to be able to push everything to the max. Let it be out in the corner areas. Let it be in those places where it doesn't cause us any distractions, right? But silence gives you more than what you can imagine. And I apologize. I'm looking at all the screens and making sure I'm making eye contact with everybody. Somebody asked, why was I doing that? Because, I like to make sure everybody that is on, be them physically, watching behind the scenes, because I can't see you when you watch behind the scenes, believe it or not. But technology ain't that, anywho. But at the end of the day, when you start thinking about it, it brings up so many different avenues that we can, take in consideration, right? That other piece is the strategic plan, because when you're silent, the strategic plan becomes more evident of what he has designed for us. He knows the plans that he has for us, right? But even with that, he knows the plans and he has given us strategic places and things how to operate in it. It's us. It's sometimes that we're not willing to listen to the strategic plan because it's not what we want it to be. The strategic plan is about what he has designed for us and not what we want for ourselves. I don't know who I'm talking to, or maybe you're going to be watching later, but there is a strategic plan that God has assigned for us to do whatever we do. That's not only in the four walls of the church, but it's outside of the four walls. And I think that's where a lot of us as Christians have gotten held up. There's work to be done in the vineyard. There's ways that God has allowed our businesses, our social interactions, and all of these things to be a part of ministry. We as individuals want to departmentalize it into one gathering, and that's not true. He has allowed us to be able to go into the vineyards and work. He's allowed us to be able to see things on a different level. It's up to us to be wanting to be willing. Right. And this is the thing. Can I be honest with you? Sometimes when we're not willing to do what God has purposed in us is why we get these hiccups. Take it from one who knows. Sometimes you got to say yes and stop fighting it, right? I was talking to a colleague earlier, and one of the things that she said to me was, and it was very profound, it was very prophetic. She said, could this be where there's some things that you're not doing happening? And I had to snickle a little bit. I had to, kind of chuckle a little bit, because it was absolutely positively correct. I had been running away from something that I knew that was a purpose in my life, but I had been holding back because of everything that I tried to teach you all. Stop allowing people, places, and things to control your outcomes, right? Because the only person that can control your outcomes is God. Right? There is no others. You have to play into a part of it, but you don't have the control of it. God does. At the end of the day, is what he has purpose in us. When we say yes, the saying the yes process is very simplistic if we say it and we mean it. A lot of times the reason why it doesn't work for us is because we're not saying it and meaning it. I said this earlier to a colleague of mine. It's okay to have this in place, but what is the proper intention of the people, places, and things that's being a part of it? Intentions is key. Having an intentional mind is key in the process. Some of us don't know what that looks like because we have been holding ourselves back from the realization that we are able to process, right? And so sometimes you have to go back and ask yourself, what's your true intentions, right? And then once you get that strategic mindset of what your intentions are, then you're able to see something on a different level. When you have the right intentions, when you have the right purpose, when you have the right resources, sometimes we have to reevaluate to get the right resources in place. I don't know about you. I don't know who I'm talking to out there right now, but sometimes it's because we have not reached out and got the correct resources that we need for our own selves. I had a meeting earlier today and I had mapped out everything that I was going to ask, and I had put everything to the on the board, if you would. I brought it to the table and I said, this is what I've already done, but I need clarification that it was the right process. I needed to understand that what I had intended to do was exactly what it was intended to do. The funny thing was when I picked up the information and I was going through some of the things that the individual and I was talking about, I had to chuckle and say, okay, God, I just need to go back and revamp this. I need to revamp this, because at any point, there is sometimes we need to have someone who is strategic enough that can speak to the resource that you need, right? And so when you do that, that enables you to have follow through on your strategic plan. And it causes you to be able to see things on a clearer level. The song says, and I keep saying all this week, I can see clearly now the rain is gone. It stopped raining here in Greensboro for a little bit. So I can see clearly now that the rain is gone. Why is that? Because now I have the opportunity to see what is no longer muddy. It's not foggy. It's not causing me any distress looking at it, right? The other aspect, once you get to the strategic planning of, is to allow God to show up for you. A lot of times we want to push the button and we're not God's. We're not, we are his children, right? And so when he shows up and we put him in the forefront, all we have to do is just go into the ring, right? So many times we are trying to get past being in the ring and we want to be the light, right? There's some things that you're going to be seeing me post here in the next couple of days about light that may intrigue you a little bit. It may give you some reason to have some questions and that you may need to take back to your leaders. But at the end of the day, there's some things that we as individuals need to take a deeper look at. And so I want to get into this because, I'm one of these people. I'm a time person. When I say I'm going to do something at a certain time, my daughter can tell you she's probably about as bad as I am. We don't do tardy. We don't. Being late is not in our books. We have my dad is a firm believer in, being on time is crucial. I'm a crucial believer in time too. My dad used to have us out at events and services and things of that nature. Service would start at 10 o'clock and we would be there at 8:30. You'd be like, what? But it has helped me to understand the process of what timing looks like. Because can I be honest with you? Timing is important in where we are in our journey, right? As the end of the year is coming to a close, but I keep telling you, it's not closing, it's only a beginning. It's a move of opportunity, right? But at the same token, this is what happens with that. We can now be able to see where we missed some points because we weren't on time. Right. It's important that we prepare ourselves for timely, events and things that we don't want to miss out on. And so I'm a time person. I don't believe in being late. I believe in being on time. I also believe in reading. Reading is fundamental. Some of you have probably heard me say this in my past, that I didn't learn how to read until I was almost in the 6th grade, which is really kind of ironic because my teachers up until that point thought that I did. Right. But it was the realization that I comprehended what was being said and what was shown. Right. But reading is truly fundamental. Even getting an email, it's important that we read the aspects of the email in order to understand what's happening. My good friend Lisa Washington is going to be doing some things with me about communication. And one of those things, strong communication, is that you understand that sometimes what you put into an email or a letter isn't as clear as you think it is. And so you may need to go back and review that. But I'm a very time person. I believe in being on time, and that way we can create an atmosphere of what needs to be done and get through. So today I wanted to talk about life audits, right? We're talking about the end of the year. We're talking about getting some things done. And so today I want to we talked about yesterday, looking at our achievements, what that looks like. But at the end of the year is when we need to start looking at some life audits. So today's topic is life audits. And so I want to give you opportunity to see that. Give me just a second here. I apologize. So our topic for today is life audits. That's it. You know, um, because we have to look at ourselves in a different perspective, right? So today we're talking about life audits. And what that really kind of means is that we assess various things in our life that we've done through this year. We look at certain things such as our careers. We look at our relationships. We look at health. We look at my key thing is personal development. We take a deep look at that and see what did the numbers show. As you know, some of us, have, probably been through audits with companies or what have you. And when you're looking at when you're looking at audits with major companies, the government or whoever the auditing source is, they come in and they look at specific information. They look at specific things and techniques that we are doing, right? Well, that's the same process that you need to have when you're talking about life auditing yourself. And it's time to identify some improvements and create strategies for positive change. I told you I'm big on us looking at those positive areas that we can increase better atmospheres for ourselves. When we're looking at improvement, what does improvement really look like? I'm glad you asked, because one of those things is identifying it. What do we need to improve on? And one of those first things that I want us to talk about is the people and places and things that we deal with, right? And when we start looking at identifying certain improvements, we need to look at the people, places, and things that we have in our life. All those, and you're saying, why is that? Because we are very impressionable people. Let me put it that way. We're very impressionable about who is in our life and why they're in our life, right? And so the first thing that I want you to look at is who is in your life. Identify those things, identify those rooms for improvement. Identifying it doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that you need to have a better source of handling it. Identifying the improvements means that you're taking an in-depth look at what you need to be able to accomplish in a different area. It's important that you understand how important identifying improvements can be. Thank you so much for joining me, Miss Carrie. I definitely appreciate you, my dear friend. When I tell you that when we're looking at identifying improvements, you have to look at the connections that you have, right? One of the things I can say about my good friend, Miss Carrie, is that she's someone that I identify as being a good source in my process, right? Not because she operates her own business, all about music. She operates that business, and sometimes I have to be able to hear from a strategic plan as a fellow colleague is what does that look like? What does her being in my life give me? It gives me a sense of somebody who understands business and commitment. That's one of the things that I look for. It's one of the things that we teach in the positive self-building class right now, building positive relationships. When I'm talking about identifying improvement with individuals, what do they come to the plate with? What do they give us as a part of understanding? A lot of times we don't get it, guys. We have to have the right people at the right time in our life for certain things. I have certain skills, you got certain skills, but sometimes those skills are not the same skills, and we have to be able to look at it for a different perspective. My pleasure, Miss Carrie. When I tell you that sometimes it takes us to another place when we have to identify what the improvements we need. One of the things when we're talking about people, places, and people is that we have to be able to see where do these individuals fit into our process. When we're looking at individuals, where do they fit in? When we're talking about other things, when we're talking about other steps of identifying improvements, we have to look at does this even make sense to what we're doing, right? when we're talking about identifying the improvements and how we want to look at it, we have to be able to anticipate certain things not being like we want it all the times, right? This, and sometimes it's when you start identifying, the goals, identifying how you want to look at that. One of the things that we have to take in consideration is, uh, let me just put it this way. Does it benefit you? Does it give you what you need? Right? There's some people in our journey, if you will. The reason why they're with us is because do they give value to what we believe in, right? And sometimes we have to be honest with that. Not everybody gives us the value that we need. Not to say that they're bad people or don't care people, but we have to understand, do they give value back to what we're doing? If I'm not giving value back to Miss Carrie and what she's anticipating doing for her business, then maybe I need to be a supporter or support system on another level. So you got to be able to understand what the improvement that you need from someone. Even as I have been dealing with, still helping these families. And I'm going to say this again, we are still short. We are so short from the goal that we need by Friday afternoon. We're still so very short. And if you have not made an effort to support their endeavors, I encourage you. Thank you again to Miss Carrie and a few other people out there that if they come on, I'm going to recognize them. But thank you to Miss Carrie and some other folks that have helped, even if it was something as simple as one of our good friends sent a Christmas tree so that the family could enjoy the Christmas tree with us. But at the same token, that you have to identify what that looks like, right? And what I'm talking about is, improvements to our process. As the year is ending, let's look at the improvements that we need to take. Okay. And so sometimes that doesn't feel good. It really don't feel good, y'all. I'm being honest. It don't feel good to have to say this didn't work and I need to change it, right? But it does also give you the opportunity to create new things that's going to better improve what you need. So when you identify, you're able to establish new beginnings, right? So when you're identifying, life audits, you can identify the new beginnings. You can, when I'm saying it, is that, sometimes when we are processing things, it's like, you have to understand that this didn't work. So why didn't it work? Well, it's because it's something that you need to do different. Identifying a new beginning doesn't mean identifying what you need. Okay. I'm sorry, I apologize. Identifying new beginnings is exactly that. Because you have to understand that. Okay, I'm shaking my head, y'all. Please forgive me. Identifying new beginnings is that you need to find new processes, because sometimes once you have done the audits on your business, on your life, you have to begin to start new processes that's going to encourage and impact you, right? Because when I'm looking at some things, when I say some things, I'm actually looking at the processes from not so much as it wasn't good, but that it needs to be improved. Right. So identifying that this is a new beginning. Sometimes, we say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But sometimes it's broken into a million pieces and you do need to fix it. And that means there's an opportunity for a new beginning. That means it's a new process of molding. Right. So at the end of the same aspect, it's time for us to understand that sometimes you have to be able to produce the new beginning, get new, fresh understanding, be able to get all of the process through to enhance where you're going, right? Because sometimes we don't look at things on the right level. We're too big of a hurry that we're not identifying what needs to be done over and to create something new. Okay, so the other aspect of what we're looking at is accessing the value. right? Once you've identified and you begin to look at that new beginning, that new possibility, that new opportunity, then you have to access the value, the areas of it. And what I mean by that is this going to be a long process that is going to take you some time to review? Is it something that you can implement quickly? Is it something that you have to be able to process? Sometimes, even we're looking at it, we have to look at the process, especially with health, right? And y'all, please forgive me, but I tell people what time I'm doing stuff, so for a reason. Again, it goes back to life expectancy. So we have to evaluate the cost, the time frame with stuff, right? Evaluating the time frame with stuff means a whole lot as well, right? So you have to look at that when you're auditing. And when you're auditing, you would say to ourselves, I want to lose 50 pounds. Okay, how do you do that? We didn't do it in 23. So how are we going to make that happen in 24? Well, we have to look at identify what we need to prove. Health is eating, right? And then we have to turn around and identify the new beginnings. We're going to change our diet. And then the third process is given a real good time frame for it to be completed. Sometimes we'll put time frames out there that are not reachable. Can I just say that? Sometimes the time frames that we put out there are not reachable. The other thing I want to talk about is creating a strategic plan for positive change. That's number 3. That's the third point we're going to talk about today. Miss Carrie, me and you're going to have a good time with this one in the next couple of days. It's creating strategies for positive change, right? Creating strategies for positive change, right? And what does that look like? So that's number 3, identify, creating positive change for, completing, creating strategies for positive change, right? And that means that we have to actually look down and start mapping out some things. We don't want to just say, okay, I'm going to do this differently. Oh yeah, I see what I need to do to new beginnings. But to actually put something into a plan of action changes the perspective on it, because it makes you more accountable to it, right? It keeps you to that place where you say, this is what I have to do, and this is how it's got to happen. Creating strategies for positive change means a whole lot, my friends. Look at some things in a different perspective. When I tell you that, it's time for us to be able to plan. You have to plan things in a different way. We can't do things like we used to, y'all. Planning a strategic plan. I've worked with other coaches, and sometimes one of the things that we try to encourage our clientele is to have a strategic plan. But when I tell you, that means that we have to put it in writing. In order to make something work, it has to be something that you can tangibly say, there's 10 questions on the block and I didn't do it. Questions 6 and 7. If you don't complete something, it's because you've left something out. So creating a strategic plan for positive change means that you have to write it in. You have to be able to be accountable. Accountability is key in everything that we go to do, y'all. I am not going to go into 24 without having accountability partners, right? The accountability partners I've had over the last couple of years have been absolutely amazing. I don't see any reason for me to replace them. Some of them are very high. They can be really tough on me. Let me put it that way. If you don't have accountability partners that can be tough on you, then I got to ask the question, do you need to reevaluate who's in your corner? Reevaluate the people, places, and things and say that they got your back. When I've been thinking about today's strategy, as far as what that scripture showed me, Miss Carrie, is that I definitely, I'm looking at people on a different level, and I'm not looking at them from a shady point. I'm looking at people from a strategic point. If you're in my life, there's a strategic reason why you're in my life. Unfortunately, most people don't believe that. But when you take the positive self-building class, building positive relationship, you'll understand it even more, because it's important to understand people's purpose and why they're in there. Miss Carrie, see, that's the reason why I'm in Miss Carrie. Miss Carrie, we're gonna call Dinah and we're gonna sing the song. We're moving on up because we're taking on the role that we have to move in a different area now, right? So we got to see strategically what is the evidence that a person is giving you. Are they giving us something that we really need? As I was thinking about some things from Miss Carrie today, I had to say, okay, I got to make sure I give this to her in a certain format because it's time for us to move to the next level on some things that we're doing. You got to understand that in this season, having a strategic plan that's in written form is going to hold you accountable. Yep, Miss Carrie, me too. It was supposed to be a part of the new. It's part of the new format, but we'll get into that more. But when I tell you that it's time for us to strategically prepare ourselves for the next move. It's time for us strategically for us to see some things on a different level. I'm not in. Miss Carrie, I'm gonna say this since it's just me and you. Miss Carrie, you already know. I got a song somewhere behind me, but this is the thing. If I can't if I can't count on you to be with me in the ditch, how can I count on you to be with me when I'm in the castle? Let me say that one more time. If I can't count on you being in the ditch with me, meaning in my lowest moments, if I can't account for you to be in my corner at the lowest moment, how can I count on you to be with me in the castle? Because it's the same principle. You have to understand who I am. You have to understand the vision that we have, and we have to be able to move into the aspect, right? And that's how you determine that is by creating a strategic positive plan. I don't know. A part of my plan, Miss Carrie, for 2024 is this. If you're in my arena, then I got to see strategically, I got to have the evidence to show me why you're there. Because if you can't help me at the beginning of the race, what you gonna do at the end of the race? Or are because people now, Miss Carrie, I gotta say this now. I gotta say this, Miss Carrie. There's some people their function is nothing but cheerleading. But can I tell you something about cheerleaders, Miss Carrie, that I've learned? Cheerleaders, good cheerleaders. There was a good friend of mine back in Virginia that I watched her for years. She was a cheerleading coach. And one of the things that she always told the cheerleaders, you don't just cheer for the team when they're winning. You cheer for the team when they're not winning. So even cheerleader, your goal is to help at the beginning, during, and after. It's not the winning that makes the sense of being a cheerleader. It's to help get people to the next level. See, as a cheerleader, your job is to boost up the morale, right? But if you are a cheerleader that only can rah at the end of the game, then I got to ask the question, are you cheering for the right purpose? What is your true intentions? We're going back to that again. What is your true intentions? Because it may be that you're not a cheerleader. Right? So maybe we need to reevaluate that. That's a part of the auditing system again. What is the purpose, right? Turn off the lights. I don't know why they just miscarried. They just hit me. Turn off the lights. I don't know why I'm turn off the lights. Oh, turn off the. Got it. Turn off the lights if that's all you are to me is a cheerleader. I don't need just cheerleaders. I need team players. I need people who will get into the trenches with me. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're one of those weak people and the only thing you can do is cheer, make sure you cheer me as I'm in my pit, as well as I'm getting to the palace. Because when I get to the palace, I'm only going to need certain cheerleaders to be in place. I don't need all the fake cheerleaders. And this is the thing. We got to be able to understand people's purposes in our life, right? So, Miss Carrie, thank you so much for joining with me today. Miss Carrie, I can tell you that there's some other things that are going to be happening on Friday, on Fresh Cut Friday. I'm hoping to come back with some good news that we have met the criteria, we've met the goal for the 3 families that we're helping. I'm just going to say this again. Miss Carrie, this goes to the cheerleaders. Okay. Miss Carrie, I got to do what I got to do. This is the thing. in order for me to understand, there's some people that can't do certain things, Miss Carrie. There are certain people that can't do certain things. I'm going to say this again. Thank you, Miss Carrie. See, Miss Carrie is a team player. She's a giver and she's a cheerleader all the way through. But boy, she is one prayer partner. Boy, baby, I'm glad she's on my side. But see, this is the thing, Miss Carrie. There are some people that don't understand capabilities of other people. I look at people as raw as I can look at them until you show me something different. And so I'm going to say this to those of you that are sitting out there saying, I don't want to help because of this. But this is the thing. Don't give out the impression to other people that that's what you're about is helping. Do you have to go within reason? Do you have to go by certain guidelines? Most definitely. Because with my nonprofit organization, there's going to be criteria that has to be met. There's some things that people won't be able to do without meeting certain criteria. I get that. However, there's some people that are just sitting back and waiting to see the ball drop. And I don't get that, Miss Carrie. Those are the people I really can't get. When I tell you that these families are in need and they are waiting on people to show them more than, then that's what they're waiting for. And that's what I'm going to continue to pray and do. Somebody tried to say to me, well, why don't you give? Why aren't you not giving? I am giving. Miss Carrie, I'm giving my services for free in order to help these families. Do you not, Miss Carrie knows, there's a price that we put on products and services for a reason. But in order for me to be able to help offset that, I'm giving away something that I physically don't have dollars for, but I'm willing to be able to be a blessing another way. And all I'm saying this afternoon is if you can't help the families one way, how about providing a resource that you know really works, that will do what needs to be done, right? Check the information before we share it. Can I just say that in a nice way? I guess I can. But at the end of the day, Miss Carrie, I am so glad that you were able to join me on today. Because Miss Carrie, you're the blessing, Miss Carrie, I tell you. So on Fresh Cut Friday, we're going to hope, like I said, we hope to come back and be able to give y'all some updated information that's positive. I'm thinking positive because guess what? It by all means necessary, something good is going to come out of this. I guarantee it. I guarantee it up one side and the other. It's going to come out that way. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here, Miss Carrie. I've got some stuff I got to get over to you by email, and we're going to get that over to you hopefully by the end of the business day. Y'all don't be sleeping on Miss Carrie. She's about to show out here in 2024. I tell you, you do not want to miss the things that she is about to bring to the table in 2024, along with some other great folks. Join us on Friday for Fresh Cut Friday. Fresh Cut Friday. Doing I don't know why, Miss Carrie, I got to start doing the but okay, I don't know where that came from. But anyway, we will see you on Friday. Look for us on other social media because you may not find us on Facebook too much longer. That's a hint. Until next time, I want to say always remain, and because it's time to be empowered, embraced, and educated to be elevated and not tolerated. And we'll see you on Fresh Cut Friday.